Before we dive into today's episode, all about the pressure centers, I want to do a quick visualization with you. So, if you're not driving, maybe if you are driving, come back to this later, and you're in a space where you can close your eyes for just a few minutes, even if the kids are yelling in the background. Let's do this really quickly. Taking a few big, deep breaths into your body and exhaling through the mouth if that feels good. Feeling your feet on the ground or your sit bones in the seat that you're on, just feeling supported in this moment and coming back to your body. We don't do this enough throughout the day. Now, I want to ask you to take a moment to envision yourself in a home that feels so loving, so safe, so luxurious. But this isn't just any home. This is a home that has a group of other women all bonding together, sitting by the fire every night, eating breakfast together in the mornings, sharing their hopes and their dreams with one another, waking to farm to table food, so healthy and nourishing for your soul. And then stepping into a space where you have Reiki energy, healing Reiki energy every morning. And you move into your day already knowing you are cleansed and you are safe and you are in the highest vibration that you could be for the day. And then stepping into a space where we dive deeper into your human design, where you get to ask all the questions that you've been wanting to ask. We go through the ins and outs of your design, what you're meant to do, what lights you up, what relationships bring you joy, how you can nourish yourself again, but instead of through food, through just life, through moving through your day. And then coming back home into this safe space for another farm to table dinner, surrounded by the same incredible women. Maybe you've rested with them throughout the day. Maybe you've gone swimming with them throughout the day. You didn't have anything else to worry about except being yourself. This is exactly what we are doing at our retreat in the Chosen Retreat Center in Florida this November. People keep asking how I've used human design to become the person that I am today, to heal from years of abuse and trauma, to be stepping into this version of me I never saw possible for myself, the opportunities that I've had and continue to come to me. And I am offering you 3 days of this fully immersive experience. Me and my business partner worrying about nothing else in the world but you and your growth and your healing and your roadmap to freedom. You get all of us for 3 days and nothing else to worry about. How magical does that feel right now? I know when I envision this retreat happening, it's a mixture of butterflies and anxiety because I just can't wait for it to be here, and this grounded, safe feeling. Because I know that for myself, for being a fourth line and also an earth sign, I'm a Taurus, and Viola, my partner, is a Virgo. She's also an earth sign. Safety and grounding is so important to us. And we want to share these resources that have literally changed our lives. And we want to share it just with you in the deepest way we've ever done it. I've never done a retreat like this before. And I'm bringing all of me to you for everything that you need from me for those 3 days. We only have a few rooms left. So if this visualization made you feel some sort of way that makes you feel like you need to be there, I encourage you to reach out to me soon before it is fully sold out. Shoot me a message on Instagram or send me an email, and you can check out the link in the show notes for more information. I would so love to see you there. Welcome to the No BS Human Design Podcast. I'm Adriana Keefe, human design coach and motivational speaker. I went through my quarter life crisis in my 20s and had to learn how to navigate through finding what I was meant to be doing with my life. I refused to believe in the culture that said we were all meant to have the same path and boring careers until we retire and die. And along my journey, I found human design, a system that reveals your energetic blueprint, showing you where and how to access your body's consciousness and how to live as your true self. Human design changed my life, so I started sharing it with others and changing their lives, but we were all finding the same problem: a lack of resources that explain the system in easy and useful ways. So I created this show where we dive deep into the lessons of the human design system without the BS and the noise you find on the internet. Listen in for lessons in human design, finding your purpose, manifestation and spiritual practices, human design within business, and so much more. We connect with other experts in the human design and spiritual realm in a refreshingly honest way to help you find your way along your spiritual path and live this life with intention. It's time to let go of the societal expectations of being and let yourself find abundance through being uniquely you. Let's get started. Real quick, before we dive into the episode, I have to take a moment to thank the incredible businesses who donated to my 100-mile ruck for charity. These businesses literally pulled money out of their pockets and gave it to me to give to this fundraiser, and it means the world to me. They are part of the reason why I was able to push through on that fourth day and celebrate 100 miles at the finish line. I need to thank JointWorks Physical Therapy here in Whitinsville, Massachusetts. If you haven't heard me talk about them, he is literally the only person who's been able to heal my shoulder after a year and seeing multiple professionals. I have to thank Thomas Rothwell Spa in Worcester, Campolito Realty Group, also located here in central Massachusetts, as well as Connecticut, Quotable Media Co., and my girl Alessandra. Coach Sarah Walton, you guys know her. She's been on the podcast many a times, I think. And Roach and Wren Law Practice, Historic Yoga, Packard Law Office, Stephanie Audette Design, and the Green Plate. Thank you so much for believing in me, for believing in this event, and for helping me get to the finish line. I appreciate you more than you ever know. Thank you so much. Okay, so today we are talking about something that feels really prevalent in my life right now, and I'm guessing the lives of a lot of you listening. We're talking about the pressure centers. And this season, it feels like very go, go, go. It's like launch season for online entrepreneurs and back to school, and there's just so much to do, which can be beautiful when we have that creative inspiration and when we feel energized enough to do all the things we want to do. But it can also lead to a lot of anxiety, a lot of burnout, especially if we don't understand our design and our energetics, right? So we're going to talk about the two different pressure centers that are within your chart. If you don't already have your chart, head to my website and download it, adrianakeefe.com/getyourchart. It'll be really helpful to know a little bit about your head and your root centers as we go through this. So you have two pressure centers within your body graph, within your energy. One being the head, mental pressure, mental inspiration coming down from source, and one being the root, which is actual like physical pressure and stress and a motor that gets you going. Let's start with the head center, right on the top. It's the top triangle if you're looking at your body graph. And for mine specifically, mine's completely open. So towards the end, I'll talk a little bit about how I feel these two centers within my body. But in between, we'll talk a little bit about the head on its own and then the root on its own. So the head center is all about mental pressure. This is where we question things, where we get confused about things, where we doubt things, right? Now, if you are defined in the head center, you will have a consistent mental energy. If your triangle on top is colored in, that means it's defined. It means that you are actually putting out energy to think. You're inspiring other people to think. This is an energy of thought, of questions, confusion, all the things we're thinking about, right? But it's an energy of thought only. This has no direct connection to a motor. There is no energy of doing. It deals with confusion and allows yourself to think. So allow it to just be. Allow it to think when it feels good and to release it when it doesn't. Follow your strategy and authority always, not your sense of consistent and reliable thinking to make decisions and to act on things. Your gift of that consistent, reliable thinking and thought process is a gift to others. For those of us with the open head centers, for us to take in and to be able to process on our own. Now, if you have an undefined head center, you have no fixed way or structure to your questioning, your thinking. Instead, you are influenced by other people's definition. So if someone around you has the defined head center, you will be taking in what they are thinking about and how they are thinking about it in that moment. So you are open to all inspiration and all thinking. This is like literally being open-minded. Your natural state in the head center is actually free of mental pressure. It's not your place to think about things in a way that resolves them. So if you start to feel mental pressure building up, which I can attest to this with having a fully open head center, it can literally feel like my head's going to explode sometimes. But it didn't used to. I will say that's come with learning how my body feels in response to certain things. If you feel mental pressure building, and if you're finding yourself overthinking and spiraling on things, then this is something that you need to practice letting it pass. For me, I will literally visualize the thought going out of my head, just like it came in, or like a pressure valve that I open and then it releases the pressure. Again, this takes practice, it takes time. We are with the Open Head Center designed to take in all of the thinking and all the inspiration, but not to hold on to them and not to put pressure on it to solve any problems, especially if it's not related to us, right? So, overall, the head center, doubt, questioning, confusion. This is the theme. The head center is here to think about these kinds of things and to wonder and be curious about these kinds of things. Now, if it's your doubt, your confusion, and your things that you want to think about, that's where you get to actually feel that free flowing energy. Whether it's open or defined, it doesn't matter. This is what it's about. However, in an undefined head, you can definitely fall into the thinking about everyone else's shit. Like it's not yours, but you're just trying to solve the problem. You're trying to think about the things, right? If you are defined here, practice not putting pressure on other people to think about things because it only pushes their clarity away. Most people have an undefined head center. So most of the time, someone who you're talking about, I mean, it's not like a huge ratio. It's not like only 10% have the defined. I don't know the actual percentage, but I will say most people have the open head center. So if you are defined here and you like to think and you like to keep going down those rabbit holes, if you will, don't put pressure on other people, even if you don't know their design. Let it pass through them because I would assume that assume. I literally have a trauma around the word presume versus assume. Someone like corrected me one time when I was younger, and now I still always use it incorrectly, but now I'm questioning myself. Okay, anyway, I digress. This is the kind of shit that happens when you have a podcast and you just talk just because it's fun and then everyone gets to hear you, whatever. So, what was I saying? All right. So with the defined head center, do not put pressure on other people to think because those of us who have the open head center, it's actually very unhealthy for us to have pressure on the thought process. We can explore certain topics and have fun thinking about things when it feels good for us, but we're really not supposed to be using that energy in a consistent, structured way. So just letting it flow back out of you. But I will say with an open head center, it can be like debilitating at times with all of the swirling thoughts and all the things that we want to think about, we want to do, especially if you're a business owner, all the things you could take action on, could do, quote, could do, right? And then you just start spiraling. So start catching yourself when you notice that. and practice letting it go in whatever way feels good for you. If it's a visualization, or if maybe you need to do some breath work or some grounding, get in the shower, go for a swim, whatever it is, start noticing what it feels like in your body. For anyone with any kind of defined or with any kind of definition in their head center, start practicing what feels like good thinking and questioning and what feels like it's too much and is pushing you past your limits. Now moving into the root center. The root is a pressure center. Why are words so hard for me today? Is a pressure center and a motor center. So this gives you the fuel for transformation, for moving life forward, for evolution. It's a pulsing energy that literally pulses energy around the chart. And really the goal is to push everything up into the throat center, because the throat center is how we communicate and manifest things into our real world. So that's what the energy is trying to do. It has a drive to move things forward, right? And so when the root is giving energy to move things forward and we see things moving forward, we see things progressing, it's such a sense of achievement from seeing those things move forward. So, like I said, it's both a pressure center, meaning the pressure to move, and a motor. So, this is what we're doing right here, right now, like the energy to go. Now, if you have a defined root center, this is what I have. You likely feel more comfortable with the pressure of being productive. You have a unique way of handling stress and pressure that's consistent for you, because this is a consistent energy if you're defined here. And you may be more comfortable with experiencing pressure and stress consistently. Now, caveat, if you are in functional burnout or any sort of burnout, I went through functional burnout. It doesn't mean that that amount of stress all the time is healthy. It just can feel very normal to you to experience stress and pressure. There's shadow and light to everything, right? So having that awareness of what is a healthy stress and pressure versus what isn't will be really good for you. What I mean by that is I'm someone who, with my defined root center, in like college or high school, if I had a paper due or some big project due, I used to procrastinate until the last minute. And then people were like, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. You should be working on it from like the moment you hear about it, right? So I attempted to start working on things for like weeks or days, depending on how much time. And I always got a worse grade if I took my time with it. I don't know if that was the overthinking of the open head center or if it was simply the pressure that I would need in that moment to get something done that made me do it more efficiently and better. I always got better grades when I did something in fast, like one, maybe two spurts. So that's the kind of pressure I'm talking about. Having a spark of energy to get up, to do the thing that you want to do in that moment. You can become obsessive with being productive, especially in today's society. And I will say this can also show up in the undefined, but we'll touch on that when we get there. And really getting addicted to the stress, being like an adrenaline junkie. I will say I do consider myself an adrenaline junkie. I'm working on it. It's a work in progress. I think there's a healthy way that you can like seek adrenaline. And then, of course, there's an unresourceful way. So always listening to your strategy and your authority, moving forward with opportunities and things that are correct for you, that your authority is also on board with and says it's a go, right? So, like I mentioned, it's like a pulsing energy. Like my human design mentor always talks about it like a red light means stop and green light means go. Spurts of energy. So, if you have this defined, take responsibility for the pressure you put on yourself and do what you can, create that awareness to stop putting pressure on other people. I have seen my own evolution with this in my marriage because my husband does not have a defined root center. And I constantly I still feel this pressure to like get him to do things faster or when I want to do them, right? So taking the pressure off of other people and taking responsibility for what you feel is something that you can do to not only help others around you, but yourself, because you're also needed to take responsibility for when you push too much too far, when your root was not pulsating, when it was not saying green means go, but you still felt like you had to go. And even though I have a defined route, there are many times, especially as a busy mom of three, when I do not feel that pressure to go. Sometimes I simply need to lay on the couch and not do. So start trusting the on or off feeling instead of trying to push in the off. I mean, that goes for everyone, but especially for you with the defined, because you likely still are so used to pushing yourself through things. Cleaning the house can wait, right? Getting up and doing homework with your kids can wait. Let yourself listen to your energy and be present with the energy in that moment. Practice understanding what your pulsating means, what your green means go, and what your red means stop feel like for you. In an undefined or open root center, you may fall into the questioning if you're doing enough or being conditioned by other people to be productive, like the pressure to be productive, right? Even when you don't feel like you want to be, quote, productive, because that pressure isn't yours. We are surrounded by other people who have defined root centers, right? So you are taking in other people's pressure. And this can feel like, especially in today's society, like you're never doing enough and you have to show productivity in order to be enough, right? So with an open root center, your goal is to wait for the correct timing and for the energy to show up in you before moving things along. What I mean by that is maybe you are around other people who have that defined root energy and everything else in you actually feels like it's on board. Like your energy is there to cling on to that root energy and be a little bit more productive. Put a little bit more of that green light means go energy into something in that moment. Or maybe there's a transit, right? I don't think I've done a transit episode yet. I was going to say, we know that transits, no, but I don't know that you guys know that. So just like in astrology, we hear about Mercury retrograde, all these planets, all of this stuff transits around the sky. The same goes for within the human design system. So there are certain gates that can be turned on in your chart, which at any given moment in time activate other pieces of your energy. So it could be a transit. Maybe you notice that certain weeks out of the year or times out of the year, you just feel more energy to do things. That likely has to do with the transits and or the people that you are around. When you're in aura with someone defined, you will have more of that energy to get the spark going. The trick is going to be understanding when enough is enough for you, right? Especially if you have an undefined sacral. Really pay attention to what feels good and then what feels like you're just forcing and pushing because you feel a pulse kind of energy there, but nothing else is on board with that, right? So when you are alone, it's your natural state to be still, to be calm. So meditation and mindfulness is beneficial for everyone. And I would say exceptionally so for you, so that you can also understand what it feels like even more when you are affected by defined root center energy versus when you are in your own aura. I hope that makes sense. Why does this feel confusing? If you're confused by this, reach out to me on Instagram and just ask, and I'm happy to explain it in whatever way makes sense for you. So often there's a belief of feeling lazy, not being productive enough, feeling like you lack motivation, and none of that's true. When the energy is there, then you are designed to be productive. And when it's not, then you allow yourself to rest or just be or do something playful, whatever feels good. So it's really about a practice of understanding what your energy feels like alone in your own aura, and then comparing that to what it feels like around certain people, or maybe the transits, certain times of the year, right? So again, this is all an experiment with your energy and understanding what pressure feels like in your body, both mental pressure and actual physical go, go, go pressure. Practicing what the energy on and the energy off feels like and keeping track of that. I always, I'm a big proponent for journaling, even if it's like one simple question a day, depending on what you're working on. How did I feel productivity wise today? Like for me, I feel like so on point right now. But I will say, even with a defined root center, that ebbs and flows too. You have to take into consideration your life. I have 3 young kids, right? I have a bunch of other things going on. So I wait for my root center to pulse energy and say go. That's why I will now record episodes at the most random times when it used to be scheduled on my calendar, because the energy isn't always there. And I want the energy to be there so you can feel the energy from me, which feels a little different today. I'm not going to lie. I think it's because I keep stumbling over my words. Even though my energy is there, something's going on with my throat. Oh, I did this is so, you guys, you are getting this literally in real time. This just dawned on me. I was doing a cleansing meditation this morning. I was visualizing my centers and clearing them off and getting everything spinning again, my chakras, if you will. And my throat was broken. And I was like, that's so weird. I don't feel like I'm holding back my voice on anything. So I cleaned it up, I healed it, put it back together. But it's interesting that I just was like, why am I stumbling over my words today? So I'm gonna have to dig a little bit on my throat and figure out what's coming up there. It's likely something I'm not speaking up about, but I don't know what yet. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, so going back to what it feels like for me in my body to have a defined root, but an open head. Let me tell you, this is definitely one of my more challenging aspects of my design. Besides all the freaking perseverance and resilience and 6 line of being patient, right? Like I love myself and also what the fuck for this design, but pressure in the root can make me go crazy with my open head center. What I mean by that is so many times I love to get ideas and inspiration from like my mentors, and I love to listen to podcasts and do all this stuff, right? And then I will find my mind spiraling on what to do and how to do it, because my root is like, yeah, let's get to work. Let's do something. Let's do something. And it can be exhausting. I'm starting to notice more and more that my root, it feels like a physical body, like I need to do something sensation, like a restless energy. And when my head can't figure out exactly what it is I'm supposed to be doing, I find myself scrolling on social media, which is actually rather new for me. I'm not typically a scroller. I just, I'm not on Instagram a ton. Like I'm in stories and I talk to my community there, but I don't like post a ton. So that's been interesting for me to notice, like, why am I doing that? And it's because I'm getting this physical sensation of productivity. My root is pulsating extra high, which likely has to do with my season of my career that I'm in right now with the rebrand. And there's a lot of big things circling me right now. So I'm very excited. It's a very excited energy. And my head center doesn't know what to do with it, because there's like a million things that I could do to take action on, that I could implement in my business or pitch myself for or whatever. And I just shut down. So it's like my brain isn't actually thinking or processing anything because there's so many options. My root is trying to tell me to do something. So I'm like finding all these things around the house to do. I'm scrolling on social media and I feel anxious. So, what I've been doing to move through that energy is, one, the visualizations of the head center, like I mentioned earlier, releasing the pressure valve. I'll do that for the root center as well. Seeing things go out of my head chakra and center, cleansing visualizations. I also really love to get in the shower. That's really healing for me. Go talk to a friend and vent about all of these ideas and inspiration, and just like so much coming through me. Um, let's see, what else do I like to do? Go for a walk or exercise, any kind of exercise. I will say right now it's challenging because I'm pretty sure I fractured my foot in the 100-mile ruck. I started exercising again like 2 weeks ago, and my foot is feeling worse. So exercise is a little wonky right now. I'm still figuring that out and getting an x-ray that later this week. But exercise overall is really good. And talking to a friend, never underestimate talking to a friend and letting those thoughts and ideas that are filling that mental space flow through you by just talking about it to someone. Sometimes that can be all that we need in order to release it, because they bring us You don't want to talk to like negative Nancy or someone who really doesn't get you or see you. You want to talk to someone who's going to remind you to come back home to yourself, right? So that's how I experience the pressure centers with having the defined root and the open head. I would love to hear what questions you have, I should say, if you don't have the same as me and you're like, I have this kind of feeling of pressure and I don't know how to navigate it. Just reach out to me on Instagram. And I would love to even maybe do a follow-up episode about this if there's enough questions, because like I said, this is a very big theme I'm seeing right now. It's gotta be damn Virgo season. Like we're like, I want to do all the things and I don't know what the right next thing to do is. So spiraling, scrolling on social media, all these things. Yeah. All right. Is there anything else I need to add to this? I think that is complete. All right. So let me know what questions you have. And I trust this served a great purpose for you today in this Virgo season. I will see you next week.